Your thoughts overall, Mark? What light would you like to shed on this subject?
Well, I'm just a bit confused as to what the Ballon d'Or actually means these days. Is it the outstanding performer of the year, or is it the best player on the planet? Now, if it's the best player on the planet, then it's going to be Messi or Ronaldo every year. If it's rewarding players for being outstanding and being the best player, the most important player of the year, then I think Van Dijk has a case because, you know, Messi had a good year. I won't say he had a great year. You know, I think if we saw him in the second leg of the Champions League at Anfield, he wouldn't say he was going to win the Ballon d'Or this year. You know, him and Ronaldo had a similar kind of tale of disappointment in the Champions League. They both won the domestic titles. And we can kind of laugh at Trent Alexander-Arnold being voted by one of the voters, but, you know, he had a great year. I'm not saying he's the best player on the planet, but I just don't know what the criteria is anymore. And I think, you know, nowadays it's voted by journalists across the world. There's one journalist in every country who votes. Now, every journalist's vote is now published the day after, so I guess a lot of these journalists are worried about the Messi, Ronaldo, the hysteria that's caused by the vote, and if they pick the wrong person, they're going to get a lot of social media abuse. So I do wonder whether some of them are playing to the gallery a little bit and picking Messi or Ronaldo because it gives them a quiet life. Now, I didn't have a vote. If I had a vote now, I'd have voted for Van Dijk, and I've said in the past I'd give it to Ronaldo, but I think Van Dijk's had a fantastic year, and Messi and Ronaldo for me have had just the usual good years, great years.
But isn't that the problem, though, Mark? When you look at it, you're holding Messi to his standard, not the standard of a normal footballer. You say that he didn't only had a good year. A good year is still a year in which he dragged Barcelona to the title, that he was the reason that Barca were 3-0 up going into that game at Anfield. And it wasn't his fault, was it, that they got knocked out? It was the 10 other players on the pitch. So it's harsh to judge him by that. And you could also say, well, Van Dijk was also on the side that lost to Manchester City, and therefore they lost the much-heralded Premier League title. There's two sides to this.
Yeah, and Ronaldo won the Serie A and he won the Nations League. I mean, you can go on all day long about what players won and what they didn't do. It'd be interesting for the organisers to say, right, the criteria is this: it's the best player on the planet, or it's the most outstanding performer of the year. And I think if it's the outstanding performer of the year, then it's not Lionel Messi. I think he's, you know, there are players that have probably risen to greater heights than him this year because, you know, they came from a lower level. But
come on, players, plural.
Seriously.
Who has risen to the heights of Messi?
He only had 50 goals.
Van Dijk made a huge difference. Without Van Dijk, Liverpool would not have won the Champions League.
Without Messi, Barca wouldn't have won La Liga.
Yeah, but La Liga isn't the same quality or the same level as the Champions League. And when was the last time Barca won the Champions League with Lionel Messi? 2015? I just think that it's easy to give it Ronaldo and Messi every year. They are the greatest players currently playing, but are they the most outstanding performers of the year? I'm not sure they are.
I got to be honest with you, Mark. When I hear you making an argument for Virgil van Dijk, it's fine, because he is deserving to be very much in the conversation. But to make an argument against Lionel Messi and saying that he had an okay year, just another year for Lionel Messi.
Okay year.
Yeah, well, just another year for Lionel Messi. Just another year for Lionel Messi is a career year for anybody else. It's a career for anybody else.
Was it a great year?
Yeah, but you don't hold them against. You don't hold it against him that he had the goals that he had because he's had them before. Just because you're great doesn't mean you say, well, you were great, but not greater than yourself. So he's competing against himself. He's not competing against anybody else. And you're holding that against him. And that in itself is idiotic.
Mark, I'm with you.
Has he been the outstanding performer of the year? Has he been the outstanding performer in football this year, Lionel Messi?
Yes. Yes, and if I had to choose a player right now, I'm starting a game, I'm picking Lionel Messi every single time, regardless.
Yeah, I agree. He's the best player on the planet, but he's not the outstanding player of the year.
Mark, I'm with you, Sean. The man that made the most difference was Virgil van Dijk.
Man, if you saw Barcelona play week in and week out over the last season, and you say that he was not as important or more important to Barcelona than Van Dijk was to Liverpool, that's just nonsense.
As good as Messi was going forward, Van Dijk was as good defensively. Did you see him playing week in and week out for Liverpool defensively? Did you see what he did to Son in the Champions League final? He gave him 2 yards of a start. The ball looks as though it's going to be in the back of the net in 2 seconds, and he changed gear.
Yeah, but I'm not making an argument. I'm not making an argument against Van Dijk. That's the problem. That's what bothers me. I'm not making an argument against Van Dijk, but people are hell bent on making an argument against Messi, and that in itself is unacceptable.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.